everyone, welcome back to another episode of Crypto Chats. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to do kind of a two-part episode, just because I wanted to talk to you all today about Dogman and Dogmen, and kind of everything that falls into that category. And it is a lot of information. So I wanted to break it up for you and try to make it just like a little bit easier, for you guys to retain the information. So I'm going to do a two-part episode. This first part, I'm going to talk to you guys about the description, telltale signs of an encounter, and the origins of Dogman, like where they came from, where their sightings are reported, and things like that. And then in the second episode, we're going to dive into the Beast of Bray Road and some other like super well-known Dogman encounters that have been reported. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy this two-part special. Alright, so let's get into it. So Dogman is a phenomena that started in the 1800s in Michigan. It started as this like really neat, just like Michigan folklore, if you will. And kind of has turned into something really tangible, which like in my opinion, a lot of folklore like does stem from some kind of truth, whether it seems like super far-fetched and it's just like this much truth, or it's like seems really feasible and it's this much truth. Like regardless, I think in folklore there is some truth to like every story or sighting or creature or whatever that they talk about. And in this case, it's no different because in 1887, Michigan had its first Dogman sighting. And from there, it kind of got intertwined into Michigan's story, if you will. So basically, picture like a werewolf. Picture what like Hollywood tells you a werewolf looks like. That's Dogman. That's the description almost to a T of what people who have encountered dogmen or any of their any of their different types or a similar creature or anything have described. 7 feet tall, massive creature, dark fur, looks very much like a giant wolf, but it's bipedal. And I don't know, they're really scary. Like there are a lot of cryptids. I think for me at least, most of these creatures that I have been discussing or that I will discuss, I would be terrified to run into. But Dogman, I would be like, no, please no, like this is it, end of the line for me, like I gotta go. I'd probably quit what I'm doing, stop making these videos, and just like cry for the rest of my life because they honestly scare me a lot. I even as a child, I was really afraid of like werewolves. I don't know, they just like really freak me out. But to see something so large and so vicious would just be terrifying to me. So though Dogman started as something that was like solely in Michigan, nowadays we see, excuse me, very sorry, sightings all over the country. The United States is like a hotbed for this weird creature that it's just running around and doing his thing. There are a lot of websites where you can report your sighting, report your encounter, and they will archive that and keep it in a giant list or a map of where in the United States and Canada you can find this creature. One of those websites, this website is so cool, and like the man who runs it is super cool. He does a bunch of other stuff related to Dogman, and I think it's super sick, and I admire him very much. It's called dogmanencounters.com, and that is one of the resources. I'll drop a link to it in the description, where if you have one of these sightings or you need, one of the things that this man offers is like trauma counseling essentially, and like helps people work through the trauma of having an encounter with one of these crazy creatures that's out to get you, which I think is really cool and like really neat. And honestly, like I commend him a lot for like taking his life and being like, I'm gonna help others with this crazy thing that people will genuinely just like tell you that you're insane for speaking out about, and I think that's neat. Anyway, back to the original point. So when you go on that website, you can click on this link for all of the reported dogman encounters or sightings in the United States. And it's super interesting because there are, at least 40 states on that list, out of the 50 that we have, that have at least one reported sighting. And you can go and click on it. You can click on the county, and then you can read all of the accounts that people have given based on their sighting. Which is super neat, and it's just crazy to think about to me that there are so many sightings all over the country, so many, as a creature that started had its start in Michigan and really kicked off in that portion of the country, for it to be so widespread and be so well known is so cool to me. And also good for you, dog man, you're really doing your thing. You've really made a name for yourself, and I'm proud of you. Please don't come after me if you ever see me. So before we go too much further, I do want to talk to you guys about the two different types of dogmen that have been sort of figured out, I guess. There are, as of right now, we know that there are two different types. We have the canine type, and then there is the type 3. And all this information is also on Dogman Encounters as well. So like I said, I'm going to put that in the description, and I definitely urge you guys to go and check it out and read it for yourself. It's super cool and very informative. So we have these two different types. We have the canine type and the type 3 dogman. Across the internet, there are plenty of stories, encounters, sightings, all over the place that give you a lot of insight into the different personalities of these two different types of, I guess we'll say, species of dogmen. We're going to talk about the canine type first, because to my understanding, from what I've collected from reading all of these encounters and doing all of this research, is that that's the one that people often see. The canine type is the one that more people are encountering, and the general consensus on that one is that it's pretty aggressive. Not to say that the other one is not aggressive, but it appears to be that the canine type is way more willing to come after you and kind of want to hurt you, not really hurt you, but attack or I don't know, freak you out maybe. I've never myself had an encounter with a dogman. I can't tell you what his or they or any of their intentions are. But I feel like you guys know what I mean. So the canine type can be characterized by how its legs look specifically. When you think of a dog and the way their legs look, they're super muscular. The shape of them is dramatically different than a human's legs. And the canine type of dogman is they're characterized differently because of mostly the legs that they have. And as you can assume, the canine type does have more canine legs. So as I said before, they resemble the more stereotypical werewolf that we would see in Hollywood. And they're scary. They're very scary. And they're, like I said, they're known to be the more aggressive one. Not that the other one is not aggressive, but they're known to be more aggressive, more willing to attack you, willing to chase your car, run alongside it, knock you off the road, etc., etc. And then we have the type 3 dogman. The type 3 dogman is characterized more because it has more hominid looking legs, like a human or a Sasquatch would. It's the structure of its body is less canine and more hominid, so it looks more like you would think a Sasquatch does, just with a different shaped head, I suppose. One of the things that I found interesting while I was doing my research is that there are a lot of Sasquatch sightings in different parts of the country that don't have, well, no, I don't want to say don't have their own Sasquatch, but haven't reported much of having their own Sasquatch, if that makes any sense. And if you like look at this picture, like you can see the resemblance of a Sasquatch to the Type 3 Dogman. So I think it's like, at least in my brain, it's pretty safe to say that like the Sasquatch and the Type 3 Dogman are kind of getting not like pushed together, but like in, you know, when you have a sighting of something and you're not sure what it is, it's like really easy to look at a picture afterwards and go, yeah, it's probably that thing. Yeah, it was probably that. And like, you know, like depending on like how close you were, like how much of it you got to see, it's not like guaranteed that you're gonna get like the sharpest, most clear image of what it actually was. So I think it's like easy to confuse the two and say, oh, I saw this thing when it might have actually been this thing. So I think it's kind of interesting that there are reports of these two creatures in the same zones, because I want to know like how much of it is like just, you know, a miscommunication or, you know, whatever. Like how much of it is like you thought it was this thing but it's actually this thing, or, you know, vice versa. Or is it just one being? Like, do we just have a Sasquatch? Do we just have a Dogman? Like, interesting. No one really knows. Hopefully we'll figure it out. But some of the other things that have been talked about, discussed, analyzed, I suppose, with the Type 3 Dogman is like tying it into their like really strong resemblance to the Sasquatch, as there are a lot of things about them that like definitively prove that they are not part of the Sasquatch family, which is super interesting, because I can see how you could take these two creatures and go, you know, they're definitely related to each other, they share the same family tree, but I can also see how that could not be true. The thing with the Type 3 Dogman is that it shares way, way, way less characteristics with a canine than it does like anything else, like way less canine characteristics. The only one, to my knowledge, that it really shares with any sort of like canine creature is the teeth, which, I mean, there's a lot of animals that have that kind of like sharp, terrifying looking smile and mouth. And you can see in the picture too, it doesn't even really have much of a muzzle. It's kind of just like, here's my mouth, there it is. So I don't know, I think that's weird. And then, obviously Sasquatches, well actually, I can't say obviously, because I don't know of any Sasquatch dentists who could tell me definitively that a Sasquatch does not have pointed canine teeth. I don't know if anyone can definitively say that. Well, you know what? No, I'm not going to say that, because maybe someone can. But I don't know. I personally don't know. Anyway, I'm like really rambling like big time this time. I apologize. But I digress. Bigfoot, Sasquatch, they also have fingernails, which we as people do also have fingernails, which is a characteristic that the Type 3 Dogman does not share. They have claws that are anchored in bone. So that's like another characteristic of the Dogman that kind of rules them out of being a part of the Sasquatch family. Just because they physically like don't have the same like hand makeup, which like, I don't know many species that have like that sort of like that big of a I like cannot think of my words today. Not that big of a, I guess I'll just say discrepancy. I don't think that's the word I was looking for, but that big of a discrepancy in like hand differences. I don't know. But you know, it'd be like that sometimes. One of the other things that people like report most of the time, which this is different from to at least what I know of when it comes to Squatch sightings, is that with Dogman and Dogmen alike, you can smell them before you can see them. And from what I have learned, they smell terrible. They smell like pure death, and I don't know that I myself have ever smelled like pure death, but I can't imagine it smells good. So I feel like, I don't know, like I feel like that's super cool, because I don't know. I just like, can you imagine you're like driving down the road and all of a sudden you're just like, oh my god, it smells terrible. And then you look and this guy's just like chilling, like hanging out next to your car, like trying to push you off the road. Like that's like, I don't know, at least like you have like that, you know, you can smell him before you see him, so you like have a chance to get out. And that's not usually something that's reported when it comes to Squatch sightings. Or any other like cryptid that I at least know of that I can think of off the top of my head right now. Like that's not really something that's usually reported. So I think that's really cool. Alright, so that's all I have for you guys for the first part of this video. The description, the, you know, brief telling of its origins, and some telltale signs of an encounter with dogmen. I am going to end this one now, and then if you choose to, feel free to watch the next part. I'm going to go over some encounters that I've come across, and read you some first-hand reports of other people's sightings, and we're going to also talk about the Beast of Bray Road. So hopefully you guys will stick around for that. Give me a like and subscribe if you liked listening to me ramble extra hard today about the dogmen. And yeah, see you guys next time.